All right, let's jump right into this. Hello, focus learners, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. If you're gearing up for your Nutanix Certified Professional Multi-Cloud Infrastructure 7.5 certification, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're targeting a very specific, highly testable objective straight from the blueprint, NCP-MCI 7.5, 6.3, Guest Customization Profiles. As an infrastructure admin, mastering how to standardize your first boot configurations isn't just about grabbing those exam points. It's an absolute game changer for your daily administrative workflows. We're going to break this down logically, covering the exact click paths, the hard constraints, and those sneaky edge cases you'll definitely encounter, so you can walk away feeling completely prepared. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with why customization matters, move on to exploring guided setup, take a look at utilizing custom XML scripts, point out some common exam traps, and wrap up with key facts to memorize.
Section 1. Why customization matters.
Before we start furiously clicking around Prism Central, we really need to establish the foundation of what this feature actually does, right? At its core, guest customization is all about automating and standardizing the initialization of an operating system the very first time it boots up. So let's look at the formal definition. A guest customization profile is a reusable profile that uses Nutanix guest tools, which you're going to see abbreviated as NGT everywhere, and native utilities like Sysprep or Cloud-Init to automatically apply settings to a guest virtual machine, or VM, operating system on its first boot. Think about the old way we used to deploy machines. You'd have to manually attach ISOs, inject scripts, and basically cross your fingers hoping the host came up with the right hostname and IP. With these profiles, when a VM is powered on for the very first time, NGT automatically applies the customization defined in this profile. It totally eliminates the need for all that manual intervention. The real-world administrative value here is massive, and honestly, understanding these benefits will really help the technical concepts stick in your memory for the exam. First up, reusability. You build a profile once, load it up with all the necessary configuration info, and boom, you can reuse it across multiple VM deployments. It is a massive time saver. Second, it simplifies VM management by letting you ditch the manual creation and management of Sysprep scripts for massive rollouts. I mean, if you've ever spent a Saturday troubleshooting a massive rollout because of one tiny typo in a manual Sysprep script, you know exactly the kind of pain this automation prevents. And third, it brings improved security to the table. By using these profiles in Prism Central, highly sensitive information, like your local administrator passwords or your domain join credentials, are securely stored and protected by the system itself. They aren't just sitting around in plain text files scattered across some random network share. Section 2. Exploring guided setup. Nutanix gives you a couple of different ways to create these profiles, and the guided setup is definitely your primary UI-driven method for standard deployments. Now, if you're taking the exam, you need to know exactly where things live in Prism Central. It's crucial. So here's the click path. You log into Prism Central, and from the Application switcher, you select the Infrastructure application. Next, from the left-hand navigation bar, you select Compute, and then click on Guest Customization Profiles. Once you're on that list view, you simply click Create Guest Customization Profile, and then pick the Guided Setup option. This launches a really smooth, user-friendly, wizard-based workflow that walks you right through defining your standard configurations. And the best part? You don't have to touch a single line of code.
There's a super interesting feature to point out here called the Provide During Deployment option, which you'll find right inside that guided setup. Think about it. When you're configuring standard settings, like a VM's computer name or its unique network settings, you don't always want to hard code those into a static template, right? If you select Provide During Deployment, you're essentially mandating that whoever deploys the VM absolutely must manually input those specific details at the very moment of creation. It is a brilliant way to maintain a highly reusable template while still allowing for flexible, dynamic identity assignment for each individual VM.
And here is the underlying why of the guided setup. The interface just gives you a series of simple checkboxes and fields to define the VM's identity and domain membership. But under the hood, the system is automatically constructing a complex XML file in the background based on exactly what you selected. So you get all the heavy lifting power of a customized initialization file, but the interface completely shields you from having to write, debug, or validate a single line of code yourself. Pretty sweet deal. Section 3. Utilizing custom XML scripts. But what if you do want to write code? Or what if you have highly unique, complex administrative tasks that a simple wizard just can't handle?
Well, that brings us to our next method, and this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between the two approaches, which is exactly how you should compartmentalize them for the exam. You use the guided setup when you need standard settings, identity, networking, domain membership, without the hassle of scripting. But you pivot over to the custom script method when you need maximum flexibility. This is for advanced customizations, complex initialization tasks the UI doesn't cover, or, and this is a big one, when your organization already has pre-existing, heavily tested script files that you simply want to reuse directly in Nutanix. Now, if you choose that custom script method, you need to know that the format is completely non-negotiable. So the crucial point is your custom scripts absolutely must be uploaded or pasted strictly in XML format. The system is incredibly rigid about this. Actually, scratch that. It's literal perfectionism. It will not parse plain text. It will not autocorrect your formatting, and it will outright reject anything that isn't perfectly structured XML. We're going to touch on exactly why this is a highly testable constraint in just a second.
Section 4. Common exam traps.
Speaking of strict rules, let's shift gears into exam coach mode for a minute. The NCP-MCI exam absolutely loves to test your knowledge of edge cases, system constraints, and tricky phrasing. First things first, you absolutely must map the operating system to its correct underlying utility. For Windows, the utility is Sysprep. For Linux, it's Cloud-Init. Now, remember that Sysprep is a native Microsoft utility used to prepare a Windows installation for duplication. It generalizes the installation by removing system-specific information, most notably the security identifier, or SID. Stripping the SID is absolutely vital in Windows environments. If you don't do it, you'll get severe network collisions and domain authentication failures when you deploy multiple identical clones. On the flip side, Cloud-Init does a similar first boot initialization for Linux, allowing you to seamlessly inject user data, set hostnames, or copy required files. Okay, pay very close attention to this next point. Consider this a massive exam alert. In Prism Central, the dedicated reusable guest customization profiles feature, the one with the dedicated list view and the guided setup we just walked through, that feature supports only Windows VMs. If you get a question on the test asking how to create a reusable, standalone profile for a Linux VM using that specific menu, it is a trap. No way around it. Linux guest customization using Cloud-Init is actually configured directly from the Create VM template wizard during the deployment process, not as a standalone, reusable profile in the guest customization profiles menu. Please do not let that edge case catch you off guard on test day.
Let's try out another realistic exam scenario to really lock this in. Imagine a question that asks something like this. A junior administrator is using the custom script method to create a new profile in Prism Central. They attempt to upload a standard text file, or maybe a JSON file, containing their script. What happens next? Take a second to really formulate your answer. Did you get it? The answer is definitive. The system accepts only XML files. Any other file format will fail to upload or save. Period. Before you even begin to upload a custom script, you must ensure it is precisely an XML format. The system doesn't parse or convert text files for you in this menu, and it will put a hard stop to your administrative workflow until you provide exactly what it requires. Section 5. Key facts to memorize.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the practical real-world automation benefits all the way down to those specific tricky administrative constraints. Let's bring it all together into a rapid-fire cheat sheet with the 4 absolute, non-negotiable facts you need to memorize. Number 1. Nutanix Guest Tools, or NGT, is an absolute requirement for the profile to apply automatically when that VM powers on for the first time. Number 2, the primary benefit of these profiles is reusability, ensuring a consistent host identity and configuration across your diverse Acropolis operating system, or AOS, cluster deployments. Number 3, if you go the custom script route instead of guided setup, the system strictly mandates the XML format. And number 4, our big exam trap. These standalone, reusable guest customization profiles you build in the Prism Central UI are strictly for Windows and Sysprep. Remember, Linux Cloud-Init is handled over in the VM template wizard. So I have to ask, are you ready to apply these guest customization rules to your NCP-MCI 7.5 exam? Because if you can keep those 4 facts straight and you truly understand the difference between standard guided setups and custom XML scripts, you are going to do incredibly well on this objective. The next time you spin up a massive cluster, just ask yourself, are you still going to rely on manual configurations and weekend troubleshooting? Or are you ready to let NGT and XML do the heavy lifting? Take these concepts, visualize that Prism Central interface, and go ace that test. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and happy studying.